This conference will now be recorded.
So we're going to record for them. So the next 5 weeks, we'll be doing 5 more chapters, but not in order. And that will leave, because there are 16 chapters, that'll leave 8 chapters for you to do on your own. So I'm just kind of bringing you up over an 8-week period of time to do 8 chapters, and then you're in the groove, and you know how to do it, and so you can continue on with the other 8 chapters. Okay? So the first chapter that we're going to do tonight is chapter 5 on page 38. And if you look at that on page 38, the title is Blending 4 Ingredients for Marital Closeness. Now, I'm sure that all of you have probably at some point in time baked something like cookies or a cake or Rice Krispie squares or something like that. You've cooked something, you've baked something. So when you did, you had ingredients. And those 4 ingredients were very important to the recipe. If you left out, let's say you left out the sugar in the cookies, or you left out the chocolate chips in the cookies, it's not going to taste the same. It's not going to be as good, especially if you leave sugar out of a cookie. That's not even called, you couldn't even call that a cookie. Leave sugar out, or chocolate chips. Can't leave chocolate chips. By the way, that's my favorite cookie. I love chocolate chip cookies. So what this chapter is doing is comparing 4 ingredients in your marriage that are very important for you to include in your marital life. And the first one is on page 39, and it's called affectionate caring. And affectionate caring says to your partner, I care about you. Now, if I asked each one of you, do you like it if your partner cares about you? You would all say yes. Okay? Everybody likes to be cared for. And so realizing that everybody likes to be cared for, that means it's important for you to, as their partner, to care for them, to show them that you care. And they've got some examples. You show your care about your spouse when you give your undivided attention when he or she is talking, when you give priority time to be affectionate with each other, when you promise to pray for your partner the morning of a difficult day at work, things like that. Okay, that's called affectionate caring. Then on page 40, it says, think about your relationship with your spouse and complete the following. I feel cared about when, and you're going to fill that in, and when you do your homework, and then when you get to your marriage staff meeting, you're going to share those things with one another. Okay? Then the second part, or the second ingredient in this marital pie that you're making, is vulnerable communication, which says, I trust you. I think this one is the one that is probably the one that is missing the most, or at least not added to the marital pie as often as it could be. Okay? That vulnerable communication, opening up and sharing vulnerably with one another, honestly, openly, vulnerably sharing with one another. This was the big thing that first 20 years in my marriage with Carla, where we, and admittedly, most of it was me. Whenever she wanted to communicate, I didn't I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to be open, how to be vulnerable. It didn't happen in my family. I mean, there was no communication ever took place in my family. We played a lot of games, board games, card games, but we just didn't open up and share. And so it wasn't because it wasn't modeled. I didn't know how to do it. And I think another problem was that when Carla would open up and share her feelings with me about something, I would do one of several things. And I think the reason I would do them is because I didn't know how to handle someone sharing their feelings with me. And I didn't know how to handle my feelings also. So I would either clam up, or I would, get frustrated, and and realizing it. I realize it now, but I didn't realize it then. I would get angry again because I just didn't know how to handle her feelings. I didn't know how to handle my feelings. So I would get angry. Other things that I would do would be I'd stomp out of the house and go someplace. Um, Never stayed away too long. I wasn't I wasn't really much of a drinker, so I wouldn't go someplace and drink. Uh, I wasn't a gambler, so I wouldn't go down to a casino and gamble. I'd done that before in my life, and that was a stupid period of my life. So I would just escape in one of many different ways. And that vulnerable communication was missing for that 20 years. That's what did not, that the lack of that vulnerable communication is what really caused the most damage during that 20-year period of time, because we weren't friends. We weren't emotionally connecting to one another. It was just we were living together. I described it, I think, one time as that like we were going down a railroad track, kind of like a vehicle that was split down the middle, and I was on one rail and she was on the other rail, and we were going along parallel on the tracks, but we weren't ever a connected train. So that, like I said, caused a lot of damage. The third ingredient for marital closeness is on page 41, and it's called joint accomplishment. And oh, joint accomplishment says to your partner, I need you. This was another one of our kind of I think one of my big things was that because I'm a type A personality, and because I grew up in a type A personality home, I learned I learned how, I don't know if I told you this before, but whenever my mother did anything with my sisters, cooking, knitting, sewing, darning, crocheting, I had to be there doing it with them. And when my father was doing things like mowing the lawn, changing the spark plugs in the car, changing the car tire, changing the oil in the car, my sisters had to be there with us also. So we learned a lot of things, and that was good in a way in that it taught me to be independent and self-sufficient, um, to take care of myself. But one thing that I didn't learn was that when you get to the point and you get married, you need to you need to let your partner know that they are needed. And I didn't do that also for 20 years. Um, just as when I talked about the first ingredient, caring for one another, and that each one of you likes to be cared for. The second ingredient was vulnerable communication, which says, I trust you. Everybody, I think each one of you likes to be trusted. And this ingredient, joint accomplishment, which says to your partner, I need you. I think everybody likes to know that they are needed. A classic example of this one time with Carla was I was going to change the brakes, the disc brakes on my car. Now, I don't know where I ever learned that. I can't remember where I learned that, but somehow I knew how to change disc brakes in a car. And so I go down, I buy the disc brakes at Napa Auto Parts, and I come home and I jack the car up, and I suddenly start thinking, well, why don't I ask Carla to come out and help me? And my thought was, she doesn't know what she's doing. Well, she can hand you the tools. Well, she doesn't even know what a crescent wrench is. She doesn't know what an open-end wrench is. She doesn't know what a socket is. Well, my brain's working and I'm saying, well, bring her out and teach her that. And she can sit here, even if she just sits here and talks with you while you're doing it and can maybe hand you an occasional tool, she'll feel needed. She'll feel like I need her to help me. Now, she readily admitted afterwards, you didn't need my help, did you? I said, well, yes and no. I didn't. I could have done it by myself, but it was nice to have you there. I felt like, we did the job together just because you were there to help me. And made that whole incident made her feel good. The opposite side of the coin was when our son was born. Prior to our son being born, we painted his room together. And we picked out the color, and I don't even remember what color it was, but we didn't know until he was born whether he was going to be a boy or a girl. So we picked out a neutral color, I think. So anyway, we have rollers and we have paint brushes, and I tell Carla, why don't you do that wall over there and I'll do this wall over here. Now, I know that Carla's very deliberate, very slow. Mark is very type A, get it done fast, and be as perfect as you possibly can be. And so Carla's working on one wall, I'm working on another wall. Her wall had a great big window in it. So she had about a third of the work that I did. And so I'm over there doing my wall. I get all done and I look back at her and she's got this small little section done. And now what I should have done would have been to praise her for the work she had done and how well she had done it. But I didn't do that. This is, again, before taking this class. I criticized her for not being very fast, and I criticized her for not being very good. And, the result was that she threw the paintbrush down and said, well, just do it yourself. And I had to do it myself. So we didn't do something together. So I've learned that is very, very important. Everybody likes to feel needed. And even if you can do the dishes yourself, lady, ask your guys to help. Ask them to dry. When you guys can sit there and talk together, do things together. It's so much fun to do things together, I think you would agree, than to do it on your own. Speaking of that, doing dishes and do it on your own, do you know that there are 2 ways to load dishes into a dishwasher? There's my way and there's the wrong way. The wrong way, by the way, is what the manual says to do it. My way is just to throw them in. Okay? And that's the right way. But the manual tells you how to put them in. And typically, the ladies, by the way, guys, they know the manual. They know what the manual says. They know how to put dishes in a dishwasher. Us guys, we do too. And so we know the right way. Okay? But trust our ladies, they know the right way too. So the next ingredient is on page 42. It's called mutual giving, which says, I love you. It is absolutely no fun whatsoever to be in a relationship where there's only a one-sided person, or a one-sided relationship where only one person is loving on the other one. Everybody, just like the other three ingredients, everybody likes to feel loved. I don't think anybody would disagree with me on that fact. They like to feel loved. So mutual giving is extremely important. It's kind of interesting how we human beings grow up. And I think, in my opinion, I think, especially in the United States and Western, no, Northern, let's call it North, yeah, Europe and the United States, I would say, for the most part, in my opinion, feel like we are taught from an early age to be selfish. For example, what I'm talking about is Christmas time. We have children, and we love to give presents to our children. I think even nowadays we give them way, way, way too many. But that's what we parents do, is give our children way too many presents. So I think kids grow up like I did, for example, loving it when we got that toy that we wanted, when we got that BB gun that we wanted, when we got that Barbie doll that we wanted, when we got that playhouse that we wanted, when we got a Red Ryder wagon that we wanted, when we got a train that we wanted. That was all great and good. But if we got a package from grandma and it had a sweater in it, we weren't too happy about that sweater. Um, so I think we kind of grow up a little bit selfish, and at the same time, we don't stop and think. For example, I don't remember in my life. Now it's possible that I did, and I'm just not remembering. But I don't remember in my early years, possibly until maybe my teen years, ever giving my parents a present for Christmas. Um, early years, it might have been a picture, a drawing, and they loved it. But it was the thought that counts. So the point is, everybody likes to feel loved. Everybody likes to receive love, and so it's important, knowing that everybody likes to receive love. It's important to note that you need to give it. And in a marriage relationship, that is especially very, very important. I think I've told you before that I read a book one time, and the biggest thing I got out of that book was the fact that if you guys want to be treated like a king, treat your woman like a queen, excuse me. And if you ladies want to be treated like a queen, treat your guys like a king. In other words, ladies, you are giving, 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 and not worrying about what you're getting or not getting. You are giving out of love. And by giving out of love, mutually giving out of love, nobody goes without receiving. So it's extremely important to learn to give unconditionally, to not only give unconditionally, but by the way, respect unconditionally. So those are the 4 ingredients. And is this chapter? Yes. Okay. So this chapter is the first of a bunch of chapters. If you take a look at page 45. Bottom of page 44, it says marriage staff meeting. You see that? And over on the page 44, it tells you about the top of page 45, where it has a list of words. In the left-hand column, it says a spouse needs to feel, and then an acronym down the side, special. A spouse needs to feel special. And the right-hand side, a spouse needs to feel cherish. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the first 2 words in those lists, secure and comfort, and you are going to, the first thing you're going to do before you start reading your chapter this week is to read page 45 through 48, those 3 pages. And you're going to learn about security, and you're going to learn about comfort. And in the process, by reading them, hopefully tonight, if you get a chance, wouldn't take you but like maybe 15, 20 minutes, you're going to learn that what security is and what comfort is, and you're going to then, for the whole week, practice giving security and giving comfort, mutually giving security and comfort the whole week. Okay? So you're going to read 45 through 48, learn about that, and practice security and comfort the whole week. And then in the meantime, you're going to go back and read the rest of the chapter, learn more about the 4 ingredients, and you're going to have your marriage staff meeting. I think that was about all that I wanted to share with you this evening. I think that about covers it. Any questions or thoughts on any of that?
No.
You got it, Logan?
Yep. Think so.
Okay. You just got kissed, Beth. And it
He
was.
loves kids. Like,
Okay. When we hang up here, Matt, it's your turn to kiss her too, okay?
just not.
No licking, Matt. Ugh. No licking. Yes. Give her a wet kiss like the dog. Okay.
So our other dog doesn't do that.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah. Anyways.
You got one loving dog and one unloving dog. Or maybe the other one is female and she just likes to kiss Matt.
They're both female.
Oh. Okay. No comment. Okay, well, have a good one. And we will see you next week. Same time, same station.
All right.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Have a good rest of your week.
See
All right.
See you guys.
Bye. Take care.
you too. Take care. Night.
Good night.